Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another live stream. And with the international break now done and dusted and Chelsea back in action in a few days, I thought it would be a good opportunity to discuss Mykhailo Mudryk and his start to life at Chelsea. It's not been the best of starts, should we say so? He said it himself, difficult start so far. But I think there's plenty of promise in him, plenty of talent, plenty of ability. And, we saw in that cameo up at Anfield, what he's about and what he can offer. I'm delighted to be joined by Ukrainian football journalist Andrew Todos. Andrew, thank you for coming as always. You obviously sat down with Mudryk over the international break for his first interview since that £88 million move to Stamford Bridge. How did you find him? Did he seem in good spirits? Obviously, he's been in London now for a few months since joining from Shakhtar. How did he seem to you? How do you feel that he's kind of adapting?
Yeah, hi Charlie. Thanks for having me on again. Yeah, he seemed fine, to be honest. He's just of that kind of personality where he's quite reserved, maybe a bit shy to people or media that he's not, fully sort of in the know with, in terms of the fact that it was his first English language non-in club media interview that he'd done. That he'd even agreed to. So I feel that he was as open as he could be. I think his English is coming along quite well. Obviously, still got some work to do on that. So, maybe in the future there might be more detailed, more in-depth interviews with him. But for the time being, I think he seems relatively focused on his football. I think beyond anything else. That's how very much he came across to me when we spoke. Not very much looking into some of the social media things that I think when we last spoke or when the move had just happened was very much the talk of the town, where even when the Cucurella stuff was problematic, when he was liking posts and things like that, and even the 007 stuff that we saw in the more recent weeks, I feel that whilst that he probably does have a look at that from time to time on Instagram, because it's pretty hard if you're getting tagged in things left, right, and centre. I feel that he's probably looking more towards actually focusing on his football. For example, I feel that he's got his personal trainer here with him in the UK now, so he's doing lots of stuff with him more regularly, and he's just focused on trying to break into that first team, which evidently in the starting lineup, that is, evidently it's been far from straightforward for him. But I feel that he knows that it's still very, very early days. So he's got plenty to sort of play into, and he's got the remainder of the season, I feel, to certainly do that. You can even maybe not call it a write-off entirely because of the Champions League quarterfinals and everything else. But I feel that for himself anyway, he's probably just going to be trying to get as much as he possibly can in terms of in the eyesight of Graham Potter before the end of the campaign, and then hopefully kick on properly, sort of like a fresh start in a sense. Once the summer kicks in, once he's got a proper pre-season under his belt, and maybe with a few exits as well, which may aid things for him there too.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of people, overlook everything else involved apart from the football. I think a lot of people just purely look at the football, but what people perhaps overlook at times, I feel, is that this is a young guy that's never played outside of Ukraine, a relatively new name on the major European football scene. He's coming from his home country, which has been decimated by war, and he's had to come to a new country, learn a new language, new way of living, new teammates, new this and that. Hadn't played any football since November. That's a lot to take on at a young age, and that of course is going to have some sort of impact on your performances on the pitch. And I think it's just kind of a bit of a reminder that these guys are just humans at the end of the day. Yes, they're under a microscope and they're footballers, but that stuff outside the pitch, that's going to affect what you do on the pitch as well. So the sooner he kind of gets himself more settled off the pitch, feels more comfortable, I think that's going to have a massive impact on his on-pitch performances as well. I mean, how have you viewed his start then? Because I was up at Anfield and he came off the bench and he was like, wow, who's this guy that we've signed, we've found? and whatnot. He was electric, quick touches, pace, direct, taking players on, quick feet. And you're thinking, wow, he could hit the ground running here. Obviously, from then, it's not been as plain sailing. He's kind of been in and out of the side. I was up at Leicester as well, and I felt he played pretty well there. He got the assist for the Kovacic goal, which is a hard header to do, reaching back to nod that back into a decent area. And despite the goal being ruled out for offside, I actually felt it was a good finish, and there was some promise there, kind of playing in that sort of false nine role down the middle. How have you viewed his start? Has it gone very much how you expected it to do? Because obviously you know not more about the player than any of us did before he joined. Do you expect it to kind of be a little bit stop-start for him?
To be honest, I was, I think, slightly disappointed. In all honesty, like you mentioned, after that Liverpool game, there was a lot of, I guess, hopes went sort of through the roof because of everything that we saw beforehand, especially what I saw from him at Shakhtar, especially in the autumn time and just over the past year. And that looked like he was going to be carrying that on almost instantaneously. Then what happened after Liverpool? There was like a 2-week break where Chelsea didn't play. That sort of maybe shunted a bit of momentum there in terms of match fitness, just in general, because he's just come from playing sort of mid-season winter break football with Shakhtar, played literally 20 minutes, and then bam. And worst scenario was that Graham Potter threw him in from the very start against Fulham in a game where Chelsea were pretty poor in terms of, especially that first half when Mudryk played. Obviously, all the stats were like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Potter said that Mudryk hadn't trained for a couple of days that week. He was a bit ill, which didn't do him much favours. Then I was at the Fulham game where I was really disappointed, obviously, that he came off at half-time, and just in general, the whole performance was pretty flat, pretty ineffective going forward. There was just no link-up play that looked very good, other than Enzo Fernandez, of course, who debuted in that game too. And then the next game after that, I think, was West Ham, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he started in that as well.
So he started in that one, and I felt that he had a great first half. He played that lovely reverse ball to Havertz, who I think the goal was offside, and he was looking pretty good. He was looking energetic. He had a few runs. He had that counter attack from like the West Ham corner around the whole pitch, and sadly couldn't get anything done. But then there was the frustration during that game for the Cucurella sort of link up. Why was he not being fed in balls? What was happening there? What's going on really? What has Potter really told him to play like, in terms of why is he hugging the touchline so much? He should be coming in a bit more centrally, trying to beat those players, trying to link up the play, towards the other wing, which seemed to have been getting a lot more focus from the team in sort of their attack and build-up play, both in the Fulham game and in that West Ham game. And then obviously he sort of fell out the team entirely in terms of he wasn't starting. Beyond that, he's coming on, getting a few cameo appearances, but nothing serious, until obviously that Leicester game, where again, he actually did look very good. What did he play? Like the best part of, 80 minutes or so. And I thought he was one of the better players on the pitch. He had the chance of scoring a goal, just if Felix hadn't sort of tried to chip it and hit the bar. If he just squared past it, it would have been like a lovely tap in. And lots of other chances that he created, playing a bit more centrally. He looked a lot more effective, but it shows that he's got a bit more variety to his game. And I felt that suited him, especially against Leicester. And then the next two matches in the Champions League and in the Prem, he didn't play at all, more or less. And obviously going back to the Borussia Dortmund game, where he had a few glimpses, but it wasn't fully him. And like the amount of chances that Chelsea had in that game, it sort of all came to sort of a fault that it just wasn't their night in that first leg. So I don't know. It's weird because people are saying he's a bit of a flop. He's not doing this. But when he actually does play and he's given maybe a bit of a consistent chance, he can show what he can do. And now that I feel Chelsea have stabilised a bit, like Potter's finally worked out the best system, at least for the past few games, where, three centre-backs playing with the wing-backs, Mudryk a bit more reserved in the middle slightly, or he can go out if needed. and just in general, the whole structure just seems a bit more organised. It works a lot better, and hopefully you can get into that system a bit more as the games go on. Obviously, Chelsea got Liverpool next week, the game that we've just mentioned where he did play so well. Even if he came on for those final 20 minutes, for example, next Wednesday or Tuesday, whenever it is, that would be, I think, a big thing just to get him at some of those sort of flagging defenders. Why not actually give him that sort of consistent 20-minute game time for like the next 3 games or something? Because then I feel that he will gain a bit more confidence. He will start playing a bit more. Not throwing him on when Chelsea are like 2-0 down or something, and when the game already looks beyond anything. And then it's like, this guy, okay, yeah, he's been brought in for loads of money, but he's not like someone that's going to turn the game on his head when the rest of the team are already flagging, when the rest of the team are like playing poorly as well. So I feel that a few components have to be working together in terms of just to get him in some sort of positive form. The sort of circumstances have to be in his favour, and once he's in that positive form, I feel that he can start to become more influential, become more of a leader in the side, and then influence the game a lot more than he is at the moment. And also, similarly, I feel that some of his teammates aren't on his wavelength yet.
Yeah,
I don't know whether that's from not playing in games or something to do with training, because obviously we see all the training videos and photos and everything that goes on, and he looks like really happy. He looks to be getting along with everyone, but from a footballing perspective, it seems like sometimes he's like thinking of a pass and no one else has sort of made the run, or vice versa. He's like making loads of these sort of passes, loads of these runs, and no one sees him, or they try and take a shot or something else instead. So that sort of needs work. And I don't know whether maybe mid-season that is possible to sort of fix straight away. Maybe we might have to wait until pre-season when they're going to be wherever they are. Few focus literally like 4 weeks, 5-6 weeks together, playing every day, playing in these friendlies, and then it might improve. But for the time being, I still think that he can have an impact towards the end of this campaign. Certainly, if he maybe comes on in the Champions League against Real Madrid, where we know that he can play well against them, as he has done for Shakhtar, especially in the autumn, that something might work out. But for the time being, I feel that it's all sort of in Graham Potter's hands in exactly how this is all going to play out, and not even in Mihailov's, because it sort of seems like he's doing everything he possibly can. I just feel that maybe he needs a bit of assistance from the management side of things, and also maybe his teammates.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I mean, I'm lucky enough to go to a lot of Chelsea games, and there's a massive frustration amongst the fans, certainly the match-going fans. I'm sure the online fans as well. Is that why is this guy not playing more? I'm sure Graham Potter's got his reasons for not playing him, but surely we're trying to build his minutes back up. Get his confidence up. Get him more used to the Premier League. This kind of January from when he signed to the end of the season. Yes, these games are important, but this is almost like a bit of an introduction to the Premier League for him, and then you sort of know what it's about a little bit, and then you can come and hit it next season after a pre-season. I just feel he should be getting more minutes. I feel like Graham Potter's game management has been poor, quite frankly, in certain games where we've got, for example, at Everton before the break, we're goals up. We're a goal up against a Sean Dyche side that's struggling at the bottom of the table. You know what they're going to do. You've got the likes of Mudryk on the bench. Why are we going defensive and chucking on Conor Gallagher and trying to defend a 1-goal lead? Why not put on a Mudryk, allow him to stretch his legs against a tiring defence and let him see what he can do? I do believe that he's got a lot to offer this season still. You can see that he's got a great work ethic. When you see clips on social media, he's always in the gym doing extra work. As you said, he's got his personal trainer over. So the work ethic's there, the ability's there, the talent's there. He just needs to be allowed to flourish. And I think the point about his teammates not quite understanding him is very valid as well, in terms of every time I watch Mudryk play for Chelsea, I just feel that he's not getting involved in the game enough. The ball is not given to him enough. Teammates aren't picking him out enough. And I'm not by any means insinuating that they're choosing not to pass to him, but a lot of the play seems to go down whatever side he's not on. And whether that's a bit of a misunderstanding. I know that the Correa example you referenced at West Ham was ridiculous, really. I think with Ben Chilwell as well, I think that for me could be a better link up between Chilwell and Mudryk down that left hand side. But there's definitely a lot to offer. I mean, just on where he's been playing, we obviously saw him deployed as a false nine through the middle at Leicester. He's predominantly played on that left hand side. Would you say that the left hand side of a front line is his best position, or is he kind of one of those that again's got that versatility and can kind of float across that front line?
Well, I feel that, especially at Shakhtar, he was predominantly a left winger. The issue was that he loves to sort of cut in a bit, because obviously I think he's predominantly right-footed. So what he does is he likes to cut in, and he likes to sort of like move towards the centre of the pitch and then try and either play a reverse pass or try and play a through ball somewhere on the floor. And he likes to do those little driving runs, which even against England, they weren't coming off too well, but he was trying it a lot because he wasn't getting much luck actually trying to get down to the byline. So I feel that that's something that maybe he can try and, I don't know, bring into his play a bit, maybe come in a bit more, because especially like we've mentioned, the games that we have seen him play for Chelsea, especially when he's starting, he seems to be like hugging the other touchline. And it's literally like, why are you so sort of deep towards, like, literally almost out for a throw in, and no one can sort of either try and find the pass because he's sort of too far away from everyone else in the build-up play. And it sort of means that he can't, like, really, I don't know, even if he wants to try and make a run or something, it's very difficult because people are either man marking him, or they just can't really get into, he just can't really come and track back enough. So I don't know. I feel that maybe, especially with the remainder of how the season's going, that it would be better off for him to be consistently, in terms of like 3-4 games in a row, coming off the bench for the final 20 minutes or so. Like you say, stretch the legs of those tiring players that he's going to be coming up against, rather than maybe not playing 2 matches and then starting and then not playing 2 matches again. And then there's no actual reasoning behind it. Like, Potter doesn't actually explain why that is happening. It would just be decent, like, nice clarity to understand what's going on. Maybe he's telling Mudryk, but it still just seems slightly baffling what the system is, because then sometimes he starts Mount up there, sometimes he starts Sterling. Obviously Sterling's injured, and then like Pulisic. So it's just like whoever goes really week in, week out, and that just, I don't really understand what the point of that is, because it doesn't provide any consistency. Obviously struggles with the players understanding the actual system that they have to play. Like, how's this winger going to react? Because all of those wide players, they actually play very differently.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of their style of play. So like, how are you meant to try and get something going that's going to work out, and that's sort of going to be sort of telepathic, in even like Felix trying to feed out Mudryk or something like that from the middle? How are you going to do that without people playing sort of regular minutes or similar times each time? So even like, even if Mudryk did come in for those final 20 minutes, 15 minutes each time, at least they'd know, hey, okay, this is this part of the game, this is this transition, and we got to deal with how we are dealing with it. I'm really unsure. Like, even the impact against, like, for example, the England-Ukraine game, he started in that one, but you could see that there was like the sharpness wasn't there at all, because
it's a bit flat.
He's just not been starting. Yeah, he's just not been starting, or he's just not got that. Like that, he's got to wait that extra second to sort of either make the decision or make that run, and like that hesitation. Like, you need that, and you get that from playing regularly and like touching the ball. It's not like training intensity. You need to have it on the pitch. So, I mean, the quicker he does start getting that, I feel the more we will see spurts of brilliance from him. It's just, and I feel that he needs to get that first goal sort of out of his system properly, where it actually counts. It's not ruled out for offside, and then fingers crossed he can, I don't know, build on from that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly going to be plenty of opportunities for him to play this month coming up in April. We've got 9 games, although probably going to be 8 now, with the United one likely to be rescheduled because of their involvement in the FA Cup semi-final. So it'll be 8 games this month. So plenty of time for him to play. Just kind of last couple of things to round out, mate. Firstly, the 2 Real Madrid games. Big game in the Champions League. As you referenced, Mudryk did well for Shakhtar, particularly in the Bernabeu. He got a standing ovation from the stadium, which, as a young kid is quite something. You don't get that too often. That's kind of reserved for the likes of your Ronaldinho's and your Messi's. Like, it's a pretty exclusive club getting a standing ovation at the Bernabeu. How important do you think those games against Madrid, particularly the one on the Bernabeu, could be for Mudryk and how the rest of this season goes?
Yeah, I think they would really, especially if he played in them and put in a good performance. I feel that would like spur him on for the remainder of the campaign. And what I would like to see is prior to those Madrid games for him to get some of those minutes that we mentioned, be it off the bench or something, just so that he can come into a groove, come into a bit of momentum going into that, rather than just being flung on potentially in the last 15 minutes or so, which I expect him to do. Like, I don't expect him to start in either of those Champions League games, just based on what we've seen of late from Potter. So that when he comes on in those last 15 minutes, if he's up against Carvalho or whoever is going to be playing as that fullback for Real Madrid, that he can take those balls over the top or through balls and sort of run through and sort of try and trouble Courtois in the Real Madrid goal, because there's every opportunity that, maybe not a wild card because Real Madrid have played against him, but just that sort of sheer pace and what would you say, difficult to unpredictability would be something brilliant to bring on, especially with the fact that maybe Real Madrid will be focused on, I don't know, whoever they're expecting will start left wing more so than Mudryk. So, and especially when everyone's got tiring legs, I think that's the perfect time to do it. So I'd hope that he can I hope he can feature in either of those games, and that there's still something to play for in both of them when he does come on to feature. I just hope that it's not another one where he's like either thrown on from the start and then sort of hooked off at 60 minutes and then made the scapegoat, which doesn't really benefit anyone in all honesty.
No, and just to round out, is there any cause for concern from your end in terms for Chelsea fans on how this is going so far? I mean, for me personally, I don't feel overly concerned, as I mentioned before, the various reasons: new to the league, new country, terrible things going on at home. Like, it's going to take time for him to adapt. I'm not particularly worried about him, but is there kind of wider cause for concern potentially about how things have started and whether he can kind of adapt to this league and this team?
I mean, I think it's way too early to be doing that. Like, there's always extremes on football Twitter or Instagram and Ukraine as well. Like, oh, bloody hell, he's a flop. He's only played, like, I don't know, less than 4 or 5 full games for Chelsea, let alone he's not played 90 minutes.
I don't think he's played 90 minutes from. Exactly. Hasn't played 90.
So, exactly. So how can we really have a go at him just yet? I feel that, like, we both think he just needs to play out this season, get some consistent minutes in. Even if it's 10 minutes every single game, he just needs to sort of have the feel for the ball so that when he comes on, he knows exactly what he's doing, and that the rest of the team know what he's doing. It seems like Potter, just before the break, like I mentioned, he has sorted out exactly his system that he wants to play now. And if he's going to be playing like that, hopefully he can bring the rest of the team in so that they understand how to attack, for example, in that system, whether Mudryk has to come back and track back, help out with defense and everything else. And then we can sort of build on everything else from next season, where he can become this sort of starter in the team, when I think maybe everything will be a bit more, everyone will know a bit more about the direction of where this team's going with regards to whether Potter will be there or not, what players will be there or not, and sort of maybe some of the signings that the team needs as well, in terms of Felix, is he going to be bought, or is someone else going to come into that position? Is Mudryk going to be brought into that role instead? Maybe someone else on the wing. There's plenty of questions that need to be answered, and I feel that at the moment, just because it's so mid-season, just the way that Chelsea season has been going so far, not good, that there is plenty of time, and I feel that writing him off this early won't do anything. And like he said, fingers crossed that all these people that are going to be calling him a loser will hopefully be able to call him a winner at some point in the future, which I hope he's very frank with it. Time will tell. And I think that's the only sort of assessment that I can give at this moment in time as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I'm fully behind him. I'm desperate for him to do well. Seems like a really likable guy. Seems he's got a lot of ability, and I think his time will come and his opportunity will come. I just want him to get more chances this season to showcase what he can do. But we just got to be patient with players. Got to be, give him time. He signed an 8-year contract. Whether he sees it out is a separate conversation. But he wasn't signed to make an impact right now. He was signed for his potential and for the years ahead. Obviously, if he can make an impact now, great. But it's for what he can do in 1-2 years time, which is really going to be important. So hopefully we see him against Aston Villa this weekend. But Andrew, thank you so much for your time, mate. Massively appreciate it. Some great insight on Mudryk. If people want to check out what you do, where's the best place for them to go? And I'll link it all in the description.
Yeah, Zorya Londonsk on Twitter, Instagram, and Ukraine Plus Football podcast if you want to know a bit more about Ukrainian football and everything that's going on there on all podcast platforms. But yeah, thanks for having me on. Pleasure as always.
Absolute pleasure, mate. Guys, make sure you subscribe, you follow all those platforms. I'll link them in the description. Make sure you smash the likes on the stream, subscribe to the channel, and guys, I will catch you tomorrow with a preview for the Aston Villa game. So until then, take care.